Welcome to today's video, which is about your spiritual doorkeeper. This is a very important spiritual guide to actually get to know, and it is one that is often overlooked by people. If we think of the spiritual doorkeeper, this is a guide who actually watches over us as we cross over from the, I suppose in a way, the physical realm into the spiritual realm. And at that point of crossing over, the spiritual doorkeeper is there to protect us at that split second when we cross over. So sometimes the way I think about the subject is if you have, say, an apartment building, and let's just say there are 20 floors, and at the very top of the apartment block are where the angels and archangels reside, and then you come further down and you have different energies, different spiritual guides, very much on a lower level. And it is important not to believe they are less important. They all have a very important role. And I know it can be tempting to just want to work with angels and archangels. But if you don't have a firm foundation on the lower levels, then it is a bit like a building that is built on poor foundations. It probably won't last very long. So from this point of view, if we have this 20 floor apartment block, then very much when we stand outside the apartment block and we are about to enter, then the first person we would normally see or be there to meet us, maybe open the door for us, would be very much like a concierge, somebody who is there and watches over us as we come through the doorway. And then we then can go to different levels. So it is important to get to know your spiritual doorkeeper, and even to have meditations with them, and they will talk about their own life and help you with your beliefs and show you more of the universe than you could on your own. So how do you meet the doorkeeper, and exactly who are they? It can be tempting to think of your doorkeeper as being maybe an angel, or maybe Archangel Michael, who will be there to protect you when you cross over. But actually, this isn't a job for angels or archangels, but is on a lower level. So the actual doorkeeper is usually somebody who has lived on our planet and has died, crossed over, and rather than continue with their own spiritual journey, or maybe as part of their spiritual journey, they have decided to, suppose in a way, wait for people and to help them cross over and to help and guide them in a way to fulfill their own, I suppose, soul destiny. So before we go any further, I'll give you an idea of what type of people you will sort of like generally have as a doorkeeper. There are a number of different groups, and these are very much groups who have a very strong spiritual belief, or very much in tune with the planet and want to help and nurture sort of Mother Nature and this planet that we all live on. They've lived before us and want to help and guide us to ensure that we can fulfill our own spiritual journey, our soul destiny as well. So the types of doorkeepers you will have. And at the end of this video, I'll actually explain how I met my doorkeeper and who it is. But for now, there are a number of groups to consider. It's very much you don't pick the doorkeeper. They very much come forward and want to work with you. And I'll explain at the end how I met my doorkeeper. So the types of people you may meet could be Native American Indians. They have a strong belief, with spiritual ancestors and are working with the actual planet and in tune with the planet. Also, you can have maybe Egyptian priests or Egyptian teachers. Again, they will have a strong understanding of their spiritual afterlife, and it is part of their sort of belief system. And so, from that point of view, they will also be a good spiritual doorkeeper. You could have mystics from the Indian subcontinent. So these could be sort of Indian, spiritual gurus who, rather than, continue on their own journey, have stayed behind to help others. You could even find that your spiritual guide might be a teacher from, the Far East. You may be sort of Japan, Malaysia, Singapore. And again, these would be people in tune with nature and have a strong spiritual belief and a desire to help others, fulfill their own destiny. So I've explained there's about 4 different groups there. There can be more. Meeting that spiritual guide is very important. And as I said, if we look at this apartment block and we stand outside and then we cross over the doorway, the threshold, then the first person we really want there is very much like the concierge, somebody to watch over us, the superintendent. But in this case, on a spiritual journey, we are actually looking at the doorkeeper for ourselves. So I actually had been at a spiritual group for about 3 months. I never actually felt I got anywhere with this group. Maybe the energy was wrong. It was the wrong time for me. After 3 months, I left the group as basically I had no results to speak of. And I then joined a second group. And this was a spiritual group, and it was run by a lady who had, she was like a medium, and she had very much like a strong spiritual background. And she had what's called like a closed circle. So this was about 4 or 5 people in her house, and we all sort of sat round in a circle on chairs, and she gave us the meditation. And it's very much like a guided meditation, as she would give us information and then help us on the meditation journey. So, for example, the very first meditation I went to her house, she started off by explaining that we would be floating in space. With this, we all had our eyes shut, and we were to imagine ourselves floating in space. There was the blackness of space. The solar system, could see stars and planets in the distance, and we'd just be floating in space. And then in front of us would be some steps, and these steps would actually go up to a doorway, and we were to go up the steps, and then we would open the door and go through the doorway into the universe. So as this was my first meditation with this teacher, I was actually thinking, well, I'm actually floating in space, and I'm going to see some steps just in front of me, and then there's a door. I open the door, step through, and I'm still in space just on the other side of a door which is floating in midair. So I was a little bit confused about what was going to happen, and I didn't quite understand the significance of the steps or the door. But anyway, I went up these steps. It was about 7 or 8 steps, and they led to a doorway. And when I got to the doorway, it was a very old door, and all the paint was peeling off the door. And I could see there was like a brown colour, and I think there was blue and green below. And actually through one part where the paint had peeled off or been chipped off, I actually could see the wooden frame underneath. So when I looked at this was a very old door in poor condition. And I remember at the time thinking, I bet the other people in the group have got beautiful doorways, all bright, white, and they've got all gold trimmings, and they've probably got sort of angels standing next to them. And all I had was a very old battered door, and the steps up to it were just concrete steps. There was no sort of ornaments, there was no beautiful carpet area. It was just stone steps, just concrete, plain concrete. So when I walked up these steps, got to the doorway, very much unimpressed with the door. So as part of the meditation, I opened the door, and as I went to step through the doorway, straight in front of me, literally right there, about 12 inches from my face, was a native Indian guide. And he was about the same height as me, about 5'10", 5'11", about 177 centimetres, about 180 centimetres. And he stood right in front of me, and he looked at me, and in that split second that I saw him, he said, "You took your time." So that was the first words he said to me. And that was before I even had a chance to look at him, understand who he was, maybe ask him who he was, what he was doing there. Before I could even ask or think of a question, he said straight away, "You took your time." So this is my spiritual doorkeeper. And the fact that he met me at the doorway before I could even cross over showed me, clearly that he was my doorkeeper, and he was there to protect me, to watch over me as I crossed over, that important doorway. And when I did cross over the doorway, he took me straight away to his native Indian lands, what would have been America, maybe 400-500 years ago. It could have been 100 years ago that he lived. It's unclear. And he showed me the land, and the land was very much, I think it is it Monument Valley? And I've since looked and found out that the Indians who lived in that area, I think, were the Navajo Indians. So I'm assuming he's a Navajo Indian. And he told me straight away that his name was Brown Bear. And even though I've met other members of the tribe, the medicine, sort of like witch doctor, and also the chief of the tribe, although they are important, it is Brown Bear who is, without sounding as though I'm unimpressed, just an ordinary Native American. But he is my spiritual protector, not the chief, not the sort of medicine man, sort of witch doctor, but just an ordinary Native American Indian. And he has always been there for me. He has always watched over me when I cross over and then cross back to my physical body. So it is very, very important to get to know that spiritual guide, as they can tell you about their life, tell you about the land where they live. And they, in my case, the Indian actually took me to his village, and actually, met other people in his tribe. So it is a great gift to actually have, to meet your spiritual doorkeeper, who does become a spiritual guide as well. And whenever I'm crossing back, before I do cross back, I go to my Indian and make a particular point of, saying goodbye to him, thanking him for watching over me, and I actually give him a big hug. And this is part of connecting with that spiritual guide to show that they are important. And in a way, they are just as important as, any sort of like maybe ascended master, or any sort of like, God that you might meet, maybe an Egyptian God, or, Hindu God, or a God from different, religions, maybe like Norse religion or belief system, or even, an angel or archangel. It is so important to connect with that spiritual doorkeeper. So I hope you found this video interesting, and if you'd like to put any comments in the section below, actually if you know who your doorkeeper is and if you have connected with them, then that would be really helpful, and it will help and encourage others who are looking for their own spiritual doorkeeper and looking to meet them and work with them. So if you found the video useful and helpful, then please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, if you'd like to subscribe, then you'll be notified when the next video goes live, as currently I do work shifts, so it does mean that after shifts I'm very tired, and actually the videos are more gaps between the videos now due to this current work. So hopefully you enjoy the video, and until we meet in that next video, then I hope you have a really good day today.